What should you bring on your wilderness adventures? Well, let me show you guys what I usually take. Hi guys, my name is Jan from Southwest Survival. Thanks for joining me today. Today, like I said, we're going to be looking at what you should carry with you for any of your wilderness adventures to try to take care of your needs in case something goes wrong. So I envision things using David Canterbury's 5 C's of survival, but I add in a 6 and I kind of tweak things around a little bit because it's easier to remember his C's. One of the first things you want to have with you is some kind of cutting tool. But I also say you also should be able to make a cutting tool if you're out in the wilderness and there's a survival situation. So a cutting tool would be something as simple as like this knife right here. And it doesn't really matter what kind of knife you have, really, as long as you have some kind of blade. I did a 4-month class where we did nothing but stone tools, and I can assure you that you don't want to go that route in a survival situation. You want a good knife. So what do I look for in a good knife? Well, you want a comfortable handle. This is the Mora Bushcraft Black. Not that I'm promoting them at all, but they happen to have some features in a very economical knife that you might want to look into. I like a high carbon steel blade because it's going to hold an edge for a really long time. The only problem with a carbon steel blade is if you live on the coastal areas, of course it's going to rust more quickly, but it's easy to get the rust off. I also like a spine on the back of my knife, and this happens to have it, so I can strike ferrocerium sparks using this little rod that's handy. This also happens to have a sharpener, which makes life easy. So with this kit, I usually hand these out when we're doing our knife-only survival classes, and it pretty much does what everything we need it for it to do. A lot of people say that you should have a full tang blade. A full tang blade, this one happens to have it, is like the entire knife goes through the handle instead of just a little piece of the steel ends up inside the handle. So a full tang blade allows you to do more batoning and turning this into an all-purpose tool. So when we're looking for a knife, like I said, it just kind of depends on your experience level and what you really want to get out of your adventures. Now, the other thing you should be able to do is actually make a knife. And I have a video where I'm going to show you how to do what's called river cobble knives. So anywhere you're at, as long as you can find some kind of stones that when you hit them together, it'll make kind of a glassy sound, you can actually strike off blades. And it could get pretty high caliber where you're making flint knapping and that sort of thing. But I really recommend learning that skill because then you'll never be without a knife in the wilderness. So the first C is the cutting tool. And so either you carry it with you or you know how to do it primitively. The second C that he talks about is combustion. So when I'm in the field, I always carry 3 ways of making a fire. So I have a Fresnel lens, so a magnifying lens. I usually use a 3X, or you can find 5X is even better. I use a ferrocerium rod that strikes out sparks. And of course, I'm not an idiot. I'm going to carry a Bic lighter when things are really desperate. So the other thing to think about is what if you had none of that? So in my classes, I actually teach you how to reenact that need through either fire by friction or all kinds of other ways of making a fire. So we'll do hand drill, bow drill, fire saw, all the different methods of creating fire. So that's a skill you definitely want to have with you. The other thing you should bring with you is some kind of container. So that would be the third C. Now, these are my favorite containers, these stainless steel single-walled little canteens. They're very durable, and we could do a lot with these. We can boil water, we can make char cloth inside of them. There's a lot of versatility. You can slide these into a sock, slip it into your sleeping bag as a little heater once you heat it up on the fire. There's a lot of potential with these things. I also like to have what's called a nesting cup as part of my container system. And a nesting cup just simply slides over the water bottle. So it's a nice convenient little cooking pot, and it adds more versatility to my system. Now, if you're in the field though, it's really hard to reenact a water container unless you're out here in the Southwest. We're blessed with a plant called an agave, and you can actually hollow these agave stalks out. And when I'm doing a knife only class, obviously we need to carry water, and so we'll use pitch glue to make them watertight, and we can actually carry water in our little handy agave container. When we're in the field, it's hard to boil water without modern cookware as well. So we'll use these coal burned containers where we're taking a little bit of a log and we're carving them down using just coals from a fire to make it much quicker. And then we could fill this up with water, take stones, heat them up in the fire, and then just transfer them using a pair of wooden tongs and just drop them in here. For this one, all I need is 2 golf ball sized stones and I can get a roaring boil out of here. We'll make teas and what we call what you got stew, whatever we found in the field. So there's all kinds of other types of baskets you can make to help you carry your things. So obviously in a modern situation, you're going to bring along a backpack. So the 4C that we want to think about, and they're not in order, it's not by priority. I'm sorry, it is by priority, but not by a systematic order. The other thing you want to consider carrying with you is some kind of covering. One of the classic favorites is some kind of emergency blanket. Love this brand, super durable. What you bought is truly what you got. So when you go and buy a $1 knockoff emergency blanket, that's truly what you're going to experience when you're out in the field. I've used these for years and years and years in the field with students, and they're very durable. They'll definitely last you a couple weeks of hard use. So I recommend you go ahead and invest the money because this is going to be your tool for shelter. And I teach lots of different ways to make shelters out of these, so definitely jump into a class if you want to find out more. I always carry a poncho with me. Even though I'm in the Sonoran Desert right now, I still want this poncho because I could set up a pretty stylish shelter, even a sunshade, with this. Now, this is my absolute favorite brand. This is a guy, his name is Perry, and he's up in Utah, and he has invented the coolest thing ever. The company's name is Wilderness Innovations, and I don't mind giving him a plug. This is literally a hammock and a tarp and a poncho, and he has got this down. I've used these for years and years, and I'm very, very pleased with them. So with this one little kit here, I got all my shelter systems ready to go. In the field, I teach people how to make debris shelters. So many different ways of making shelters using the materials that are around you. The next C that we want to consider is some kind of cordage. That's really hard to do in nature, is reenact cordage, unless you're in the Southwest. We are blessed with yucca and agave and beargrass and all kinds of other plants that have very strong fibers. So this is an example of some of the woven yucca fibers, and I teach people how to do that. But in the pinch, when you're out getting ready to do your backpacking adventures, you want to carry some modern rope with you because it's just going to make life easy. 2 different types of rope people are carrying lately. This is called bank line, and this is actually my preferred cordage to use because it's 3-ply. I can actually split this apart and get 3 fibers out of it. This is the classic paracord that people like to use, the 550 cord. I don't find it very useful at all. The inner shrouds are too slick, so when you're setting up traps and snares, they're white colored, and so the animals can definitely see what's going on. So I really do prefer this tarred mariner's bank line. Why do we care so much about cordage? If you know how to make cordage, or if you have cordage, you could set up traps, which immediately gets you meat. You can set up fishing kits, all kinds of different stuff, nets. So I usually use cordage to get me some kind of food. Speaking of food, the last C that I consider is I add in an extra C, and this one is the critter getter. That's kind of my little version on David Canterbury's 5 C's. So you want to have some kind of food or way of getting food. So obviously the classic, what people bring with them when they're hiking, you want something that has a lot of fat, protein content. I usually just carry a bag of mixed nuts because I can use this for bait, also for my traps, and it's going to be a really high calorie food. I also carry a slingshot. This one happens to be able to shoot arrows, which is pretty cool. This is from the Pathfinder school from David Canterbury. And in a pinch though, it doesn't have to be something crazy like that. Just carrying a spare slingshot, you can actually build a slingshot in the field with your cordage, and it's a pretty lightweight little system. This is something you can easily just put into your pocket. I also carry a fishing kit if I know I'm going to be out where there's fish in the creeks. And I like to use what's called spider wire, because spider wire, this actually can be used for snares. So this little fishing kit is by K-Bar. You can open it up and you can actually store all your tackle inside. So it makes it pretty handy. And it's just a hand caster. I've caught lots and lots of trout with this one, so it's one of my favorite ones. In the survival courses I teach, obviously I'm going to show you how to get food from the wild, not using the modern methods, but from primitive methods. So I'll even take this stick right here. I could turn this into a trap and get all kinds of little critters to eat from knowing how to do snares and traps. We also will make expedient little hunting tools. Usually you want to do your snares and traps first, because they're hunting for you 24 hours a day. But we also have active hunting. So we show you how to make stuff like this. This is a throwing stick. This is designed to actually hover like a Frisbee and knock out your game that way. All the way to where we teach you how to make, the bows and arrows. So it depends on your skill level, how far you want to go into it. But this is just a really nice overview of what you should carry with you. You don't have to know the primitive methods, but you definitely want to have with you some kind of cutting tool, some kind of combustion device, a container to carry water, a covering, and cordage, and then some kind of calories is what I add into that mix. So hopefully that gives you an idea of what you should bring with you. It doesn't have to be heavy, it doesn't have to be big, but you want to be able to provide for those different needs. All right, guys, hopefully that gives you some good information. Once again, my name is Jan from Southwest Survival. Please subscribe and check out my website at www.southwestsurvival.com. Have a great day.